Ready? Good evening. Welcome to the City of Sugarland City Council meeting for Tuesday, December the 7th. Item number 2, closed executive session. 2A, Section 551071, consultation with the attorney for the purpose of receiving legal advice regarding an amendment to the Imperial Redevelopment Agreement. Item B, 551087, deliberation regarding economic development negotiations for the purpose of deliberation regarding the offer of a financial or other incentive to a business prospect the city seeks to help locate, stay, or expand in or near the city. Item C, Section 551071, consultation with the attorney for the purpose of receiving legal advice on pending or contemplated litigation. And at this time, we are going to recess in the council dining room. Good evening. We're going to go ahead and reconvene the City of Sugarland City Council meeting for Tuesday, December the 7th. First item is our invocation. That'll be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Suzanne?
Yes, sir. Father God, please rise. Thank you. Father God, we gather here tonight as a council dedicated, diverse, and committed in unity to serve our city. Be with us as we consider decisions in the best interest of those that we serve. We ask your continued blessings, especially during this season, upon our first responders, fire, EMS, police, healthcare providers, and military as they sacrifice to care for our community. And it is with gratitude that I ask these blessings this evening. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We got a special recognition tonight. It's the Rising Star Award. And I'm going to ask Paula Kutchka, Norma Martinez, and Melissa Ledesma to come down and introduce the topic for us. Melissa, congratulations.
Hello, Mayor and Council. So Melissa was awarded the Texas Prima, Texas Public Works Management Association Rising Star Award. And this is a great honor because it is a large organization, and for them to have selected Melissa to get this award, and the award is for anyone who has been in risk management between 2 to 7 years and having that experience. So Melissa was awarded this award in November, and so we were really honored for her. And we wanted to present her with the plaque here at the council meeting. Melissa was hired in October 2018, and she has done a tremendous job with our risk management program and our specifically more our safety program. So we're really happy for her, and for the HR department, we are honored that she got this award.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, City Council. It was truly an honor to receive this award, but it wouldn't have been possible without the leadership and support of Norma and the entire HR staff and team. Thank you.
We're excited and honored to have Melissa with us. She is a great ambassador for the HR department and for the city as a whole. She is someone who definitely exemplifies CHAMPS every day in every task that she performs. And so we're very thankful and very proud of her because she earned this.
Congratulations. Council, next for a picture. Say, oops. Oh, I see him. He's hiding back there. Before we move on, I see that we have a scout in the audience. If we could get the scout to stand, tell us your name, tell us your troop number, and what badge you're working on.
I'm from Troop 1852, and I'm working on the Citizenship in the World Merit Badge.
Well, thanks for coming tonight.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on to public comment. Item number 3. Thomas, do we have anybody signed up?
No, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Move on to consent agenda, item number 4. All these items are considered routine. We'll take them as one motion unless the council member wants to pull an item. Do I have a motion? Got a motion by Kamali, second?
Second.
And a second by McCutcheon. Your vote at this time, please. We're going to move on now to item number 5, public hearings. 5A, receive and hear all persons desiring to be heard on a proposed amendment to the City of Sugarland Water Master Plan. And we're going to have a brief presentation from Abby Martinez, the senior planner, and Katie Clayton, the assistant director of public works. Abby?
Good evening, Mayor and members of City Council. Katie and I will be tag teaming the presentation. And we're also going to be doing a joint presentation combining the water and wastewater master plan background information. And then from there, the items will be separated according to the agenda. The water with a public hearing and a first reading of the ordinance for your consideration, and the same thing with the wastewater. So for a little bit of background, the city has 8 official master plans, and so tonight's discussion is focusing on the wastewater and water master plans. Each of the plans are elements of the comprehensive plan, and they refine a vision for a specific subject area. The plans also document policy direction and also have plan recommendations, which are implemented through the capital improvement plan and department work plans. The master plans are updated every 5 to 10 years. Both plans identify long-range infrastructure needs, and so the wastewater was last updated in 2012 through the master plan annual reporting process. And the plans were needing to update so in order to address the recent population growth in the city and ETJ. The water was last updated in 2015, and so the amendment is focusing on the south of the Brazos River in order to align with the wastewater master plan update. The 2015 plan is still in place, and so the water is an amendment, and so that serves as a supplement to the existing 2015 master plan. So as far as project timeline, we identified the need to update the wastewater plan in 2018, and so a contract was issued in March of 2019. And then we identified the opportunity later in 2019 to amend the water master plan, and so a contract was then issued in December of 2019. From there, in September of 2020, Council held a workshop where we introduced some service provision policy items. And then in January of 2021, we continued that discussion with the service provision policy impacts of the plans. Then in October of 2021, we presented the plan recommendations, and then we went to the Planning and Zoning Commission in meeting in November of 2021. So the purpose of the updates was to develop policy recommendations for the extension of water and wastewater service to the ETJ, as well as expanding the current planning areas to the ETJ and also include Great Wood and New Territory. The plans also update the models and incorporate the recommendations from the Integrated Water Resource Plan and Asset Management. And then again, they also establish the work plan for policy and infrastructure recommendations. So I'll be talking about the policy development, and then Katie will talk more so on the technical analysis and the plan recommendations. So for the background, the city has primarily developed via master plan developments and municipal utility districts because it had very large tracts of land available at that time. And also the city has existing regulations and policies that require connection to the public system. However, we are in a different place now. The city does not have a large tracts of land left. There is a fragmentation of parcels in the ETJ and south of the Brazos River. And we've also been hearing increasing requests for utilities in that area, and the city is unable to expand utility services just due to limited capacity in that area. And so through the master planning process, we sought to answer these policy questions of with that fragmentation in that area and no regional system capacity, how can the city serve properties in the ETJ? How do other cities address this issue? And should the city be the regional provider in the ETJ, or should the city allow alternate service in the ETJ? So with the assistance of our consultant, we benchmarked 5 peer cities, and the findings of that benchmarking exercise was we found that peer cities develop regional facilities and they utilize capital recovery fees to recover the costs. The developers are then responsible for the cost of tying onto the city's infrastructure. And peer cities also utilize development agreements to incentivize annexation when extending utility services. And so we presented our findings to City Council, and so Council's direction was to evaluate the city's role as a long-term regional service provider. So as far as the future service approach recommendations, the plans direct us to revise the policy and regulations in the interim to state that the city will not extend utilities to the ETJ because we need to determine what the service area will be. Through a south of the Brazos study, we need to determine whether the extent of the future service area will be south of the Brazos within the ETJ or beyond. And so once that is determined, we would establish a capital improvement plan for service for that determined area. We would also update the financing mechanism for utilities to utilize capital recovery fees. And so this is a little bit different, where we are taking a departure from connection fees that we've utilized in the past and moving towards capital recovery fees. And so capital recovery fees are adopted via ordinance versus connection fees, which are adopted via individual development agreements. And so at this point, I will hand it over to Katie to talk about the technical analysis.
Thank you. I'm here to talk about the exciting part of the plans, which is the technical analysis, starting out with the hydraulic models that we developed for both the water and the wastewater systems, and how we use those models in our technical analysis, thus leading us to the recommendations. So to start, a little bit of background on the hydraulic models that we developed. We build these models of both our water and our wastewater systems separately. So for the wastewater, we built models for the entirety of the city service area, our city main, and Greatwood and New Territory. And then for the water, that was just an amendment, like Abby talked about, and it focused on south of the Brazos. So those water models are of our River Park and our Greatwood systems. Those models incorporate the pipes, the actual distribution system that takes water to our customers, as well as the water plants and their capacities. And then on the wastewater side, the collection system, so the pipes that collect wastewater from our customers and bring that to our wastewater treatment facilities where that wastewater is treated and discharged. So we build these base planning level hydraulic models of our water and wastewater systems, and then we calibrate those models to mirror field observations. So for the water system, we put out pressure sensors and look at how our groundwater plants and our water plants operate. On the wastewater side, we look at our wastewater treatment plant daily flows and calibrate the models to match those field observations. This gives us a better understanding of how our existing infrastructure is operating today, to understand what our existing infrastructure, if we have any existing capacity limitations or operational issues. Once we understand our existing infrastructure, we can apply future development onto those models. And so we rely on data from our land use plan as well as the integrated water resource plan, looking at future growth in our current and future service areas out to our ETJ, what that growth would look like, and the water and wastewater needs for that growth. That can be applied to the water models and wastewater models to help us identify any future capacity concerns or infrastructure needs. That then leads us to help developing the recommendations. And I'll start out by just recapping the policy recommendations that Abby just talked about, with revision recommendations for our policy and regulations for extending utilities into the ETJ, study for the south of the Brazos service area, and the capital recovery fee determination analysis. And then I've broken the recommendations for the wastewater and water out separately, as well as kind of high-level categories. The first of which for wastewater is the recognition that there are opportunities to continue to develop and refine our hydraulic models. So like I said, these are planning level models, looking at our systems from a high level. And there are opportunities to take those from planning level models to more operational models. So understanding if there are operational ways to look at our models, we can do that through two main projects. One, to conduct a flow monitoring and wastewater modeling study that will utilize more refined data in our wastewater system, and turn that planning level model into more of an operational model, which we can then use to understand through an optimization and conveyance study if there are opportunities to optimize the operations of our wastewater system. Secondly, we recognize the need to continue to invest in our wastewater treatment plant facilities. Just like all of our city facilities, they need continued investment. And the IWRP recommendation was to continue to utilize our wastewater treatment plant at the north site because of its central location. It has a great opportunity to provide reclaimed water to our community for irrigation and amenity lake filling. And so there's a need to continue to invest in our North Wastewater Treatment Plant. And in FY21, we started a preliminary engineering report for that North Wastewater Treatment Plant.
Katie, that's the new territory plan, correct?
No, the North Wastewater Treatment Plant is centrally located
that's
on
169?
59 and Highway
Okay,
6.
gotcha.
Yes. Additionally, there was a recommendation to conduct a wastewater treatment plant or facility expansion alternative study, as well as a west wastewater treatment plant improvement preliminary engineering report, which the west plant is the one in new territory.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. And then lastly, the models showed us that the Greatwood wastewater treatment plant does not have capacity for additional growth outside of its current service boundaries. And so two of the recommendations focusing on the Greatwood and south of the Brazos area is to conduct a rehabilitation preliminary engineering report for our Greatwood wastewater treatment plant, as well as to conduct a wastewater facility siting and collection system study for the south of the Brazos area. So recognizing that our existing facility doesn't have growth or doesn't have capacity for additional growth, these are the two projects that will start the progress for meeting additional growth. And then on the water side, again, this model was much smaller and focused on our Greatwood and our River Park systems, and also found that both of those systems do not have capacity for additional growth outside their current service boundaries. And so to address that, the recommendation was mirroring on the wastewater side to conduct a regional water facility siting and distribution system project, as well as continuing an opportunity to continue to develop and refine the water hydraulic model through a main system water modeling study and capacity CIP recommendations. So those were the recommendations for the policy, the wastewater, and the water master plan amendment. And I will turn it back over to Abby to lead us through the rest of the process.
Thanks, Katie. So like I mentioned earlier, we did go to the Planning and Zoning Commission on November 9th where the commission held a public hearing. There were no comments during that meeting on November 9th. The commission did have several clarifying questions that staff addressed during the meeting. And after that, the commission provided a unanimous recommendation of approval of the water and wastewater master plans. For the public hearing tonight, we did do a public hearing notice by posting it on the newspaper of general circulation as well as the city's website. We did have an online form available to provide comments. No comments were received, and we are not aware of any opposition. And for the recommendation, staff supports a recommendation of approval from the Planning and Zoning Commission to the City Council to approve a first reading of ordinance number 2252 on the proposed amendment of the Water Master Plan. For next steps, the City Council will hold the public hearing on the Water Master Plan Amendment. After the closing of the public hearing, the Council will hold first reading of ordinance number 2252 for your consideration. And we anticipate a second reading at a December 21st Council meeting if approved by Council tonight. Thank you.
Okay. At this time, Council, what I'll propose we do, we're going to open a public hearing. We'll receive that public hearing. Once we've heard any comments, we'll close, and then we'll go to any questions you have of staff during the consideration and action part. And then following that, we'll move on to the wastewater side, which is item number B. We'll have a public hearing there, close it, and then go to the consideration and action. Does that make sense? This time, we're going to go ahead and open the public hearing to hear any and all persons on proposed amendments to the City of Sugarland Water Master Plan. Thomas, I believe we do have someone on virtual that would like to comment.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, I'm dialing in now. Since the line is busy, let me try again.
Abby, while we're waiting for that, why don't we temporarily suspend that? Why don't we go on to the wastewater part and your recommendation? And we may
Actually,
just...
he is on the line, sir.
He's online? Okay.
Mr. Seal, if you will press the codes to unmute your phone, please. Mr. Steele, try *6 to unmute your phone.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, we can.
Okay.
Mr. Seal, you're live for the public hearing for the proposed amendment to the City of Sugarland Water Master Plan. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. My name is Derek Seal. I'm with the McGinnis Electric Law Firm in Austin. I regularly represent developers regarding wastewater and wastewater utility service. By way of background, prior to private practice, I served as general counsel of the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality. And before that, I was general counsel for the House Environmental Regulation Committee in the House of Representatives here in Texas. So I've been involved in the water and wastewater business for several decades. I represent Bob Elberger here today in his efforts to obtain water and wastewater utility service for a 2.26 acre property that abuts a great wood along Crab River Road. We've been working with your city attorney and your city staff off and on for several years, and Ms. Reedy suggested that we could submit comments, which is the purpose of our comments here tonight. First off, the city's long-term planning efforts to meet future needs is laudable, and it is unquestionably the responsible path forward. However, the plans won't be implemented for several years down the road, as your staff has just explained to you. And we understand from city staff that service can't be provided to Elberger property or anybody else's property where service is not currently provided until implementation. And we only get 5 service connections. And one difference here is that this is the same number of connections that was committed by the previous MUD taken over by the city during the Greatwood annexation over the last couple of years. In fact, for quite some time, there was a water meter on the property, but neither the city nor Mr. Elberger is exactly sure why it was disconnected. But without the ability to have service, the Elberger property is stranded and it's unavailable for development for several years until your plans are implemented. And we would like to ask the City Council to consider directing that the 5 service connections that were committed be provided simultaneously as you move forward with planning and implementation. We believe these 5 service connections are a negligible amount of capacity. We realize you've got a lot of service requests out there. However, we believe that service for this property is distinguishable because of the specific commitment from the MUD that was made prior to annexation. We would like to thank Ms. Reedy and city staff for working with us towards creative solutions, but we just don't see a solution that works practically other than to provide service. Mayor and City Council, although my comments are specific to 5A on the Water Master Plan, I think they apply equally to 5B, and I'll provide the same comments on that item if needed, but I would defer to you unless you want me to do so for the record. And lastly, thank you for the countless hours of service to the city, and thank you for the flexibility to accept my comments virtually. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Seal. Anyone else, Thomas?
No one else has signed up.
Anyone in the audience that wishes to comment on this particular item? Yes, sir. Representative Ron Reynolds. Welcome, Representative Reynolds.
Good to see you, Mayor, Council. I'm Ron Reynolds, State Representative for District 27, and Mr. Elberger reached out to me. I've been serving on environmental regulation for the past 6 terms, and it seems like it's something that should be a reasonable request. Before the city annexed Greatwood, the MUD had gave them a commitment that they were going to make the connections. The city, as you know, annexed the Greatwood subdivision, and then they didn't give them any explanation, but said they were not going to honor the commitment. So Mr. Elberger has basically left his property, as Attorney Seal stated, basically in a situation where he can't develop it. He had a contract where he was going to sell it, and once that happened, he wasn't able to. So, you know, he's hoping that the city will reconsider it based on him relying upon the prior MUD saying that they were going to do the 5 connections, and he's hoping that the city will hopefully reconsider it based on what Mr. Seal just recommended to the council. So I'm just here saying that I think that it's reasonable. Mr. Elberger certainly didn't anticipate that there was going to be any change once the city took over. And Mr. Seals has been trying to work with the city attorney for a number of years to remedy this situation. So I'm just here just in support, hoping that there can be an amicable resolution to get some mere 5 connections for this developer. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Hearing none, we're going to go ahead and close the public hearing. We're going to go to the action item, first consideration. Consideration of an action on City of Sugarland Ordinance Number 2252, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Sugarland, Texas, amending the Water Master Plan, an element of the City of Sugarland Comprehensive Plan. Any questions from the council members? Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Yep. Got a motion by Lane, second by Jacobson. If you'll vote at this time, please. And the motion passes 7-0. Thank you, council members. We're going to move now to item number B. We've already received a presentation. Abby, do you want to kind of close it out and then we'll open the public hearing?
Yes, I do have a few slides. Here we go. So they're just the background information was provided in the earlier presentation, and so here I'm just going to be covering the public hearing notice for the wastewater master plan update. We did provide notification in the newspaper and on the city's website. An online form was available, and we did not receive any comments in advance, and we are not aware of any opposition. There we go. And so staff's recommendation is to support a recommendation of approval from the Planning and Zoning Commission to the City Council to approve first reading of ordinance number 2255 on the proposed update to the wastewater master plan. So similar to the earlier item, the council will hold a public hearing followed by the first reading of ordinance. And we anticipate second reading at a December 21st council meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Abby. This time we're going to go ahead and open the public hearing, and that's to receive a proposed update. Anyone wanting to speak about a proposed update to the City of Sugarland wastewater master plan? Thomas, I believe we have Mr. Seal. I think it'd be appropriate for him to introduce his testimony in the public record. So we open to public hearing. Mr. Seal, you're live.
Mayor, I appreciate it again. Can you still hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you fine.
Mayor, if in the interest of time, if I could just incorporate my previous comments on the water master plan into comments for the wastewater master plan, I think that might save you a few minutes.
Okay.
If that's acceptable.
That's fine, Mr. Seal. Thank you very much. Let it reflect the documents that comments from the water master plan will carry over from Mr. Seal into the wastewater master plan.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else in the audience that wants to speak on this particular item? Hearing none, we're going to go ahead and close the public hearing. We're going to move to first consideration. Consideration of an action on City of Sugarland ordinance number 2255. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Sugarland, Texas, adopting an update to the wastewater master plan, an element of the City of Sugarland comprehensive plan. Council members, any questions? If not, a motion, please.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion by Kamali, second?
Second.
Got a second by Watley. You vote this time, please. And the motion passes 7-0. Thank you, council members. Thank you, Mr. Seal. Item number 6, ordinances and resolutions. 6A, consideration of an action on City of Sugarland resolution number 2134, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Sugarland, Texas, casting a total of 130 votes out of 5,000 total votes in the election of 5 directors to serve on the board of directors of the Fort Bend Central Appraisal District for the 2022-2023 term. We have with us Ms. Jennifer Brown, Director of Finance. Jennifer, it just doesn't seem right that we only have 130 votes. And our board members work as hard as anybody else.
They do, but they work for the entire
work
county.
harder.
So you have to remember this is based on taxable value in the entire county for all the taxing entities. It is a proportional allocation. So just a reminder, the Fort Bend Central Appraisal District Board of Directors is made up of 5 voting members, along with the Fort Bend County Tax Assessor Collector as an ex officio member. The board members serve a 2-year term that begins on January 1 of even numbered years and is elected by all of the taxing units within the county that is served by the district. And that includes all the cities, the school districts, and all of the MUDs and LIDs, of which we have a ton of MUDs and LIDs in Fort Bend County. All right. So previously, came before you in October, and you nominated Jim Key and Michael Roselle for positions on the board. They were both existing board members and were willing to continue to serve. So we submitted those names to the chief appraiser, and then in November we received a ballot from the chief appraiser for consideration of allocating our votes. At that point, we were notified we were receiving 130 out of 5,000 total votes, which is 2.6% of the total. So we're not skewing the election one way or the other, either way. We've received the ballot. It has 5 candidates for 5 positions. Last week, we reviewed the ballot with the Council Finance Audit Committee, and then after tonight's resolution, we will send the ballot back to the Chief Appraiser by December 15th to allocate our votes. The 5 candidates are listed here in alphabetical order. If you'll recall, Al Bronchick was previously on the board and has chosen not to be renominated, and so Darren Flint has now been replaced his name on the ballot. The other 4 are existing board members. So this evening, we are here before you to have you approve Resolution 21-34, allocating the city's 130 votes to one or more candidates on the ballot. The discussion at Finance Audit Committee is that the committee members would recommend an allocation to the City Council of how you feel those votes should be allocated. And with that, I will turn it over to you, Mayor, to lead that discussion.
Somebody from Finance and Audit want to recap our discussion. It was pretty clear. I'll recap it. Oh, go ahead, Stuart.
Yes, Mayor and Council, we were presented with very much the same presentation that you saw today, and we do believe that the current board members are doing a great job, and we are actually very grateful for their willingness to serve. And the committee recommends that we go ahead with the casting all of our votes for those five nominees.
I think it was, Stuart, we take the 2 City of Sugarland council members, which was Jim Keys and Mike Rozelle, and split the 130 between them, 65 each.
Yes, thank you for reminding me. Yes,
That was the discussion, yes.
So the recommendation from Finance and Audit was to take our 2 Sugarland residents, 65 votes apiece. Stuart, would you like to make the motion?
So moved, Mayor.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Got a motion by Jacobson, second by McCutcheon. If you'd vote at this time, please. And it passes 7-0, unanimous. Thank you all. Item number 7, municipal utility district bonds. 7A, consideration of an action on City of Sugarland Resolution number 2137, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Sugarland, Texas, authorizing the issuance of Imperial Redevelopment District unlimited tax park bonds. Series 2022 in the amount of $5,400,000. Jennifer, will turn it back over to you, our Director of Finance.
Thank you, Mayor. All right, so the Imperial Redevelopment District has come to the city asking for our consent for them to issue some park bonds. Just a little background on the district. It was created in 2005. It was a legislatively created district, and then the city consented to the district after the fact in 2007. The district contains approximately 746 acres. It is wholly within the city limits. And then in 2007, upon pretty much concurrent with the city granting consent to the district, we had a redevelopment agreement that was approved between the city and the developer. And that redevelopment agreement has most recently been amended in May of 2016. And the district is very similar to a MUD, but it does have broader powers. This district doesn't have an expiration date, so it will never go away. This district is the debt that's being issued by the district is not and will never become the city's obligation, because the district was legislatively created and will exist into perpetuity. This is a map of the district, and you can see it is located along Highway 6 to the west, sorry, I'm getting myself turned around, and Highway 98 is to the south, and then Bernie Road approximately to the east. The purple lines do represent the outline of the borders of the district. And this almost overlays TERS number 3, which the city is a participant in, and so TERS number 3 is part of that redevelopment agreement. So we have some agreements with the district and the TERS on assignments of some revenues to support some projects. So you'll hear me mention contract revenue bonds as I go through some of the outstanding debt for the district. This district was developed as Imperial, which is a mixed-use community. It includes both single-family and multifamily residential homes, retail and office space, along with commercial properties. The focus, or kind of the main hub, the historic area in the district is the Imperial Market, which is still pending development. And currently located there are the Sugarland Heritage Museum and Visitor Center and the Fort Bend Children's Discovery Center. This is also the home of Constellation Field, where our own Sugarland Skeeters, the AAA affiliate of the Houston Astros, play. The MUD has a $1.10 tax rate for 2021, and it is currently allocated 84 cents to debt service and 26 cents to maintenance and operations. The district has a 2021 certified value of $372.82 million, and they are estimating at September 15th, $384.45 million in value. Obviously, that will certification will be as of January 1, but they provided an updated estimate of the value. The district has issued several series of bonds, beginning with 2016, and this list does not include the TERS contract revenue bonds that I mentioned just a moment ago, so this is just the direct tax-supported debt of the district. It includes unlimited tax road bonds, unlimited tax park bonds, and the regular unlimited tax bonds for water, sewer, and drainage, typical to a MUD. So they currently have $42.62 million in outstanding principal among these issues. This series that is proposed, it would be for $5.4 million, and it is reimbursing the developer for parks infrastructure, including pedestrian bridges, trails, the roundabout in Imperial, and the drainage and detention facilities associated with those trails. There are several throughout the development that are being reimbursed, parks and trails. That also would include the developer interest and issuance costs. So the district is planning to sell in January of 2022. And so staff has reviewed the proposed issuance. It does comply with our city policy, which is Resolution 11-07 for special districts within the city and ETJ. The proposed issue does extend the current maturity schedule by 1 year, and it is consistent with the Third Amendment to the redevelopment agreement. Staff is recommending approval of the proposed bond issuance. This particular district has to receive the consent by resolution. So we have resolution number 21-37. We have with us Spencer Day from the district's financial advisor, and also Annette Stevens from their bond counsel. And they would be available to help answer questions.
Council members, any questions of Jennifer and or the consultants? Suzanne?
Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. Jennifer, thank you. I had a couple of questions. In reading this, I just want to make sure, or I just want to clarify, the bonds are payable from an annual ad valorem tax levied upon taxable property within the district, and there is no obligation from the city at all, and the construction cost is 4.2, and the non-construction cost is 1.1, and all of those proceeds from the bond goes to that.
That's correct.
Okay, that's what I needed. Thank you.
Sean?
2 slides back, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Right here. Can you explain extend the current debt maturity schedule by 1 year?
Yeah, so our the policy under Resolution 11-07 states that once a district establishes a final maturity schedule, that they can't extend the final maturity without the city's approval. This district had kind of a gap between when they issued, if I go back to the outstanding debt here, their I believe they've actually, have they done a refunding, Spencer? Not yet? Okay. So they had a little gap when they first got their development started. And so there was a slowdown. And so we had quite a discussion with the district several years ago because this topic came up about extending the maturity schedule. And so we agreed that with the district that for each issue annually that we would allow them to extend by 1 year as long as the development was continuing. And so we just feel like we need to point that out to City Council
So
because that is
schedule of
part of the
21
council,
21
part of the
years as
agreement.
opposed to 20.
So this issue particularly, I believe it's still 25 years. They just extend it by 1 year. So kind of the new debt just kind of layers on and adds an additional year to the maturity schedule rather than having to be compressed.
I thought our normal schedule was 20 years.
For MUDs, it's usually 25. For the city, we normally do 20-year debt.
Okay, gotcha.
But because MUDs
Okay.
have
Difference
a
in the MUD
much
and the
more
city.
limited
Okay.
tax base, they
Got it.
typically do longer.
Anyone else? Do we have a motion? Got a motion by McCutcheon, second? Second by Watley. Give it this time, please. And it's a 7-0 vote, unanimous. Thank you, council members. Item number 8, workshop. 8A, review and discussion on recommendation from the City Council Sugarland Legacy Foundation Task Force regarding the purpose, structure, project framework, and revenue strategy pertaining to the Sugarland Legacy Foundation. We have with us tonight our own Cindy Dees, Director of Public and Government Affairs, and Amanda George, a consultant with Sterling. Cindy.
Good evening, Mayor, City Manager,
Good evening.
City Council. So I am pleased to be here tonight. This is the culmination of quite a bit of work tonight, and I'm glad Amanda George from Sterling could join us. I wish I could take credit for all the work, but we had a wonderful council task force that assisted with this process, and that was made up of the mayor and Councilmember Stuart Jacobson. So I want to thank you first and foremost for your service, as well as the staff members who put in hours of work on this, including Daphne McKinney and Jennifer May. So thank you for their service to this report. So what I want to start out with today before we go on to hear from Amanda with Sterling is a little bit of background about the Sugarland Legacy Foundation. So the Sugarland Legacy Foundation is a 501c3 organization with a city council appointed board. The focus of the Sugarland Legacy Foundation is to leave a legacy by enhancing Sugarland's quality of life. They work with individuals, corporations, trusts, and other foundations to try to make sustainable, charitable, tax-deductible donations that financially support or facilitate support for activities and capital projects that benefit the Sugarland community. Their efforts are guided by 3 principles: advocating diversity of culture, race, ethnicity, religion, and age, ensuring transparency, accountability, and fairness in all dealings, and promoting service to the community. Some of their current projects and successes, you just recently attended one of them, the T.E. Harmon improvements, which I know we had a great time celebrating. They've also done past projects like the Veterans Memorial Eagle. They're working on the Eagle Plaza at the Sugarland Memorial Park, working on the Gold Star Families Memorial Monument, which you're familiar with, the Welcome Home Project at Sugarland Memorial Park. They've helped to complete the Remembrance Tower, which is our wonderful tower at Sugarland Memorial Park, the universally accessible playground at First Colony Athletic Park, our famous selfie statue out here in Town Square. So you can see that the Legacy Foundation has, left a mark on the Sugarland community. So some reasons that this study was, we started this study. We wanted to look ahead at the next 10 years for the Legacy Foundation. The City of Sugarland is looking for its nonprofit partner that's going to create greater support in areas of fundraising for multi-million-dollar priority projects. So the foundation needs to look at developing a plan for operational sustainability. And lastly, the foundation's success depends on the diversification and expansion of its board of directors. And so Amanda's going to dive deeper into some of those reasons and exactly what we looked at. But those were some of the reasons behind why we started this process. So to provide professional expertise and guidance, the city and the foundation partnered together to engage with a professional nonprofit consultant who's here with us tonight for the strategic planning and governance exercise. And the visioning exercise included an invitation for broader engagement from the task force helped identify that group of stakeholders that were engaged throughout the process that included existing board members, business leaders, philanthropists in the community, among others, recognizing that we needed broad participation from a variety of backgrounds. The City Council task force held several meetings as we went through this process, and the charge of the group was really to evaluate the mission of the Legacy Foundation and set a strategic plan to identify, select, fund, implement, and maintain community projects moving forward. Some of the importance of the foundation to our current city goals, you'll see on the screen, we have 2 goals that you probably are very familiar with. We just talked about these recently at our city council retreat. So finance, strong and viable, and identify and define innovative, creative, out-of-the-box funding sources. These are top of mind for the City Council, and the Legacy Foundation could be a major player and source of funding in accomplishing these goals. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass the baton to Amanda George. I'm pleased to have her here with us tonight from Sterling. She is the consultant that was selected to guide us through this process. So I'm going to turn it over to Amanda. And she's joining us virtually.
Can you all hear me?
Yes, there you go. We can see you now, Amanda.
Okay. Wonderful. Mayor and members of the City Council, thank you for the flexibility in allowing me to join virtually. I appreciate it. It's been a pleasure to work with the task force and the staff members on this assignment. And as Cindy said, I don't need to go into detail about this because she did such a good job of explaining it, but our assignment was really just to look at the future of the Legacy Foundation and to think critically and gather feedback about what would be the highest and best use of the time and energy of those serving on the foundation board. How do we structure this organization to be as effective as it can be for the residents and future projects that the city wants to accomplish? How do we look critically at the projects that are selected and really focus the energy of the foundation on fundraising for really transformational projects? And then, as Cindy mentioned, thinking about the revenue and how do we diversify that and think creatively about how to make that work in a sustainable way. As Cindy mentioned, we talked to a number of stakeholders, active board members, staff, city council members, as well as community members. And through those conversations, we gained a couple of insights. Lots of strengths of the foundation. It really serves a unique need that no other organization is serving right now in the community. The organization has a mission for all, so we think that it's something that could really rally the community and has been for a long time. The foundation promotes service to Sugarland, which we know is a wonderful thing for the community. And there's been some long-standing, very supportive and active board members who have helped see the foundation through to where it is right now. We were also able to identify a couple of opportunities. So those I'll just rattle off briefly for you are, there was a lot of conversation in that feedback about how to focus the projects that are selected for the foundation's support. So setting some guidelines and, if you will, boundaries around the types of projects that the foundation will engage with. There was lots of conversation about the capacity of the foundation to operate independently. There's been a lot of committed time from city staff, and right now the foundation does not have enough capacity to operate on its own. There was lots of conversation and feedback about marketing, that The foundation is a wonderful thing, but not many people in the community are aware of the good work that it does. Kind of along those lines, if you don't know about the foundation and you don't know of its great work, it's hard to get involved. So making sure that people and residents of the community know that this opportunity exists. And there was extensive conversation about the financial sustainability of the foundation and how that could look in the future. Ultimately, we took our charge to be that we were working towards two main goals. One being to position the organization to operate sustainably and independently, and the other to play a significant and more robust role in fundraising, not just for small projects, but predominantly for projects that have a transformational capacity in the city or an ability to have a transformational impact on the city. The foundation currently has a mission, but we worked with the task force to develop a little bit more refined mission statement, being to identify and fund transformational capital projects that make Sugarland sweeter. We chose each of these words very intentionally, and there was a lot of conversation and feedback about this, but this is the mission statement that the task force and staff developed together. A couple of key recommendations. I think you all received the robust report that we developed that has very detailed recommendations and next steps and budgets and things like that. But just a couple of key recommendations to highlight for you. We're recommending that the foundation either hire or contract with additional staff members. I think that based on that feedback that we heard, it was loud and clear that in order to raise significant funds for transformational projects, additional capacity would be needed. So we laid out a plan to do that. It was also very important to some of the current board members and the task force that we expand the board specifically to include members who have an interest and a passion to raise funds for the city. We also outlined in the report a very detailed selection process for projects that provides some guidelines and a process for how the foundation could work with the city to select projects, but also to solicit projects from the community. So this is a two-sided thing where residents have the ability to recommend projects directly to the foundation. And then we also developed a diversified revenue model where some of the revenue would be coming from sources like events and grassroots efforts, but also that the foundation could hold on to a small portion of the gifts that are received as a management fee to support the same sustainability. In order for this plan to be successful, there are a few other topics that we recommend the council discuss. One being, as part of the plan and the budget, the proposed pro forma budget, we have built in an investment from the city of Sugarland to be considered. Again, this is just a pro forma and a sample budget, but the plan that we put forward asks the city to consider a $750,000 investment over a 5-year period as a ramp up for the foundation to secure the right staff, raise some initial funds, and get on that path to sustainability and independence. With that investment, we also discussed at a strong recommendation from the task force that there be some staff oversight that was directly from the city of Sugarland staff, so that there was accountability built into the model as well. And then there was lots of conversation about what the initial projects would be that the foundation could take on. And so I think that is one that the council could discuss further. We heard some discussion of an animal shelter. So if that is a project that needs additional funding in the future, that might be one that the council considers discussing as an initial project for the foundation. I'll sort of pause there and see if Cindy or the
Questions,
task force
Councilmembers?
has any other comments or questions.
Anybody? Stuart, do you want to, would you like to share some thoughts?
Yeah, I'd like to say that, first of all, I think Amanda and her group have been extraordinarily responsive to our requests and the things that she's learned from us and all the folks that she's interviewed. We really do believe that the Sugarland Legacy Foundation has the ability to be a multiplier. You know, one of the things that I thought when Amanda said, oh, a $750,000 investment by the city, well, some people will say to us, well, why doesn't the city spend the money to create all these projects and all these amenities? And the answer is we don't have enough to do everything we want to do. But if we could take $750,000 as the seed money and multiply it 3, 4, 5 times, imagine what a great investment that would be for our tax dollars. We spent a lot of time hammering different things out, structure, how we wanted the oversight of this proposed executive director to be, to make sure that there was accountability. Amanda hit on every one of the hard points that the mayor and I and staff were pretty adamant about, and the stuff that we actually kind of fought about back and forth till we came up with a consensus. So I want to tell you that from the task force that worked on this, I saw the draft that you all got before it got to the entire council, and I told Cindy, and I hope Cindy passed it along to Amanda, I thought it was terrific. It just captured everything that we really wanted to accomplish, and it's the framework and the vehicle to achieve the vision that we have. What we kept on saying through the whole process was that it's the ability of the foundation to finally realize its potential for good. And I speak for the mayor, I think, when I say that we're very, very wholeheartedly behind this.
We are. We're excited about what came out of it. Again, we thank the board members and the previous folks, staff included, that were part of the Legacy Foundation. It was never the intent to substitute that. This is more of a transformational exercise to take it to the next level so that we could leverage even greater private dollars into investment in city assets. And we believe with Amanda's help, with the Sterling Foundation's help, that we've got a plan now that we can execute. I think it's absolutely essential that the city invest in that effort, that we get it right, that we get the right executive director, that we get. Now, what's before you is actually putting staff to work to actually work out the details. I don't take a $750,000 taxpayer fund investment lightly. I think that's what's going to be necessary in order to take us to the next level. It's not going to happen overnight, but I think we'll generate a lot of excitement in the community. And between council support, staff support, and the board's support, I think we can get this done.
Okay, one more thing, please.
Please.
Of course, my question was, where's that $750,000 coming from? And we had the deputy city manager, Jennifer May, with us the entire time, and Jennifer assures me that there is room in the budget to make this happen. So that would always be the first question that I would ask. So I wanted to sort of head it off at the pass.
Any comments from City Council? You guys on board? Yeah. Everybody on board? Okay, Cindy.
All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So we'll look. I think the next step then is now to put together a schedule. Not only a budget. Mike will kick it to you, hand it off to you all, and let you work through it, and then come back to the council, probably in another workshop that talks about schedule, timing, et cetera, how we get it accomplished.
Yes, we will work on implementing the vision that you have set forth for us. We definitely want to loop in the Legacy Foundation, of course, let them know kind of next steps forward and all of that, and we'll be back in front of you.
Okay. Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you for allowing me to join you and for allowing us to work on this project.
Item number 9, City Council City Manager reports, 9A, City Council Member reports. Suzanne, let's start with you.
Oh, I thought you were going to go the other way.
I know, I always get you.
So we've all been busy in the last few weeks since we didn't meet, so I'm going to just make mine simple and let everybody else go. The one thing I do know no one else was at was our you were there. Our CFAAA prepared meals for our fire department to deliver for Thanksgiving, and Nishad did stop by to help us do that, and it was very exciting, and I hope our firefighters enjoyed our cooking. Thank you.
Nishad.
Mayor, along with yourself, and I think the entire city council was there last Wednesday at the Ismaili Jamaat Khanaan Center. ABC 13 was there for their annual Share Your Holiday Food Drive. Record-breaking year this year. Over 100,000 pounds were collected in that one day. Just in comparison, last year during the pandemic, 25,000 pounds were collected, so 4x this year. It was beautiful weather, and lots of schools participated in the local area and their bands and drill teams and all kinds of other good stuff. So it was a good day. And I'll let someone else speak about the others.
Carol.
Yes, well, a number of us attended the Sugarland Police Department Training Unit Open House. I got to use a taser for the first time, and probably the last time, and go through.
Given your history with your foot, I'd say that probably is the last time. Last thing you need to do is shoot yourself in the foot with a taser.
But, and that was great to tour that. And we'd like to congratulate staff on the Christmas tree lighting. It was just really a super event. I heard that about 8,000 to 10,000 people participated in that, and that was really fun to bring so many members of the community together. And we also had a posthumous recognition of Bob Brown, who has served for 30 years on the Economic Development Committee and has served on probably a couple dozen nonprofit boards throughout our city and county.
Thanks, Carol. Stuart.
Well, honestly, it might be easier for all of us just to name the things that we did for a living in the last few weeks, because those are a lot fewer than the council things that we did. But one thing I would like to highlight was Sunday morning, there's a group called silvercare.org, and this is a bunch of high school students, mostly out of Clements, that put together this not-for-profit, and they're raising money for needy seniors. And at 6:45 a.m. on Sunday, let's see, Suzanne and Jennifer and William and I, we showed up at Lost Creek Park, and it was a 5 and 10K run and walk. I was the only one who had the guts to actually walk it, but I did it. And but the highlight was when our mayor pro tem led us in the national anthem, and that was a sight to behold. And
you didn't know she had that talent, did you?
Well, we proved whether or not she has that talent. Let's just go with that, okay? So I yield the rest of my time.
Jennifer, for rebuttal, go ahead.
I think you guys have known what I'm up to. I just want to say that, Joe, I'm glad you're here. And I have a much higher appreciation for your ability to herd cats.
Well, thank you, Joe. William.
Almost everything was listed. Yes, Jennifer sang like an angel. I got to give her that. It has been a very fast last few weeks. I cannot express my great pride in this city and the people of this city on the Christmas tree lighting. That was one of the most beautiful things I've been a part of probably ever. And then on Sunday, yes, sir, I got up at very early, and I was with Stuart very early, which is rare. But then one of our little mountain bike groups had me pack like a mule all of their artificial trees and Christmas decorations back into the woods, not knowing what was going to happen to me. And we decorated bicycle trails, and, well, they did, and I got to watch more of our citizens loving on our community in a way I'd never imagined. So if you happen to be riding a bicycle over by New Territory, you may see Christmas trees and everything out in the middle of nowhere. And I just love them for it. I love this city dearly. Good to have you back.
Thanks, William. I'm going to highlight something that doesn't get a lot of press. We have what's known as the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council, and we've recently convened them. And this is a bunch of high schoolers that express an interest in working with the city, getting to understand the city's operation. We meet every, is it weekly, Cindy? First Monday of the month. There we go, Tia knows. So we meet monthly, gives them a chance to understand the services, the leadership team, gives them exposure to council, gives them exposure to Mike, to the E-team, to the department heads, so that someday when they graduated from college, they'll come back and consider either a place as one of our esteemed staff members or a place on city council or other elected office. So great group this year, some really interesting questions. I'll try to share some of those questions with you, but they're paying attention and they're digging deep, I guarantee you. So, Mike, city council member, or the city manager report.
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to recognize the tree lighting was a great success for us. Wanted to thank the Parks Department special events team. But that's made up of over 150 employees from just about every department and volunteers, and we couldn't do it without them. Also, special recognition, the police department got to keep us all safe and do smart financial and keep the city safe all at the same time. I'm not sure how they did it, but they did a great job, Mayor. It is no secret to us that we have the best economic development director in the world. That's not news to us. We know it. But this Thursday, our Economic Development Director, Elizabeth Huth, will be honored at the BizNow's Houston Power Women event. She'll be recognized as one of the 2021 Rising Stars in commercial real estate. And so we're excited to go support her with that. And then we have the Senior Holiday Gala. That will be this Thursday. I know, Mayor, we have a couple new council members that haven't been to one of these. And I would just tell them to make sure they're
Put on your dancing shoes.
they're well hydrated.
Yes.
And that they
Absolutely.
bring their dancing shoes or boots. So good luck.
And you will be on the dance floor for a while. You don't worry about me. I'm not worried, buddy. I know you can handle it. Anything else from council?
Motion to adjourn.
Got a motion to adjourn. Thank you, Carol. Time.